Good morning everyone and welcome to another one of my little fishing adventures. Today I'm doing something I love, fishing small lures in skinny creeks for a whole bunch of different species, for brim, perch, salmon, pike, a whole bunch of different stuff you can catch. And to make it even better, we're using some new lures. So the first one I want to try out is this little wingman, 3.75 inches. So it's a bit of a long lure, but it has some really skinny appendages. So I think that might be good. And the next one, well, we might actually start off with this one. The other one I want to try out is this, a small little dozer minnow from the Live Ops range. This is a 3-inch lure, and I think this is going to be a gun lure for estuary perch and brim and stuff like that, especially those bigger models. So maybe we'll try this one out to start off with. This is my first ever time using the new dozer minnow, so I'm keen to test it out. So it's the 3-inch in the colour sandy pearl colour. Let's open it up, get a look at it. Now get that out. There's our first little look at it, the little 3-inch. Bit of a thicker body, that's going to have a whole heap of movement in the water. That should do really well. Just going to get out the old lightweight combo to put that on. So we're using a 1/8 jig head with a size 1 or 1/0 hook. So really finesse, fine gauge. Let's see, line that up. It's going to come out around halfway. And that's it there. Probably could go a little bit bigger on the jig head size, but we'll try that out to start off with. All we're going to do is pretty much just cast at the banks on either side of the bank and just try and locate some fish. Got no idea where the fish are going to be, but hopefully by covering enough water, we can eventually find some. It's going to cast right along the bank, along the drop-offs. That's the plan. Sink that to the bottom, sink it all the way down to the bottom and slowly hop it along. That's the technique. Really hoping we can find some estuary perch. That's the target for the day, but I'll take anything we get. Get the sunnies on. It's fairly bright. Another cast. The good thing about the 1/8, the slightly heavier jig head, is you can cast it up in the shallows, quickly work it over the shallows, and then slowly hop it down over the deeper ledge. That's what I like to do. See if there's some fish around. Never used this lure before, but I reckon it's going to be very good. Killer, as they say. Oh, some little prawns. Saw a little prawn up there skip along the surface. It's a good sign that there's some bait nearby. Yep, there's a fish. There we go. What is that? We got something. First fish. That was on that 3-inch paddle tail. I think it's a perch. Pretty sure it's one of our targets. The old perch. He was out fairly deep, eh? Ooh, it's not a bad one at all. There we go. That's awesome. Let's get a look at him. That is a beautiful perch. That's actually a pretty big one on that new little 3-inch dozer minnow. I'm stoked with that. Took a fair while to find this fella, but hey, if there's one in the area, there's a good chance there'll be more. That's really cool. As you can see, he's a pretty chunky little fish. Not a bad one at all. Pinned him right on the face there. Lure out. And see you, buddy. Off he goes. Well, that's a pretty good start to the morning. First ever fish on the new little dozer minnow as well. Little 3-inch. 3-inch paddle tails are probably my favourite lure to use while estuary fishing. You obviously get the perch, but with the brim you tend to get the bigger models of the brim as well. So I love using slightly bigger lures, especially in more pristine remote systems as well. Like this is a couple of hours away and not many people get out here, so usually the fish are very hungry and will eat a bigger lure. Let's get another cast straight back up and in there. Oh, that's a little bit deep, but we'll try it. When there's one in the area like that, especially with perch, quite often there can be more. They're a schooling fish and you usually don't get them solo. Sometimes you do, but more often than not, you'll find a group of them. You can pluck multiple from the same school. Let's hope that's the case. Nothing on that cast. I'm confident there'll be more there though, surely. Surely. Get another cast back out, and it's a super simple technique. I do the same one every single time. Cast the plastic out, I'm looking at the line, there we go, just hit the bottom there, then a couple of lifts, and then let that lure sink down to the bottom. And that's all I'm doing. Hit the bottom there, lift, and sink it back down. Yep. Oh, there's a fish. That feels pretty good. Let's just ride along that weed bed. Oh, that feels pretty decent. Looks pretty decent too. He's just cruising in on the surface. He's just cruising in. He's given up. Never mind. Oh, there he goes. That's another perch. Oh, he's a good one. He's bigger than that first one, I reckon. We'll just try grab him. Big old perch. Now this one is more of what we're talking about. Look at that. That is a big old perch. That's a mid-40s for sure. For sure, that's a beast of a thing. On the old 3-inch paddle tail. Geez, that's a donkey actually. Geez, I kind of underestimated this perch. That is actually a massive perch. That's a proper bucket. See you, girl. Bye-bye. That is a beast. I completely underestimated that perch. That was actually a donkey of a fish. Really big perch. High 40s, 3 centimeters off that magical 50 mark. On the old new lure. That's a good sign when you're using a new lure. It's also, I love perch fishing, eh? This is why you do those big trips, to come out and catch a fish like that. Like a fish like that makes the whole trip worth it. Love it. And if we're lucky enough to get anything else, it's pretty much just a bonus. Go back in there. If there's any more of that size class, we want them. Oh, that was a hit on the way down. Felt that. That size class of fish is proper. That's a good cast. That's in the zone. There we go. Drag's a little bit loose. That's another one though. The next cast. Don't know if he's as big, but it's a perch. He's a smaller one. Jeez, look at that lure. That has gone down his gob. There we go. That one's only a small one in comparison. We'll get him going. I reckon we might try out the 3.75 inch lure. We'll try it. This one is the Wingman, 3.75 inches. That's a pretty big lure when you're chasing perch. This might be a little bit too big for this jig head, like look at that. But we'll try it. Break these legs apart, so it has plenty of action. It's like a real cool little flick bait. Actually looks awesome. Yeah, my jig head is just way too small for this lure. Take a look at that. I've tried to give it as much hook exposure as I can. Perch inhale their prey, so that should still work, but if not, we can switch back to the paddle tail. Try out the 3.75 Wingman though. I've got a feeling doing this we could really draw out a bigger fish. Go back up in there. Let's see. This is gonna be, oh, that was a hit. They tried to eat it. Might be a little bit too big to get a good hook up. There we go. Never mind. Oh, going crazy. Definitely not too big to get the old hook up. Man, that's a big lure for these perch. 3.75. Should be a good fish. You do the math on the, oh. He's not actually that big. Oh, putting up a tussle though. There's that little lure, and there's the result. Oh, that's a chunky perch. It's a very nice one. How's he? Get him going. See you, buddy. Shall we try again? Right up in that little pocket. Another one. Swimming at me. Swam all the way at me. It's funny, like, oh, that's a good one. It's a pretty big one. It's funny, they see their mates get plucked and they just don't really care. They come straight back. There he is. Geez, they are getting that lure down. They don't care that it's that big. Another cracking perch. Geez, they're awesome fish. This is a really hot little session. This is just how estuary perch fishing goes though. Like, you travel so far, been fishing for a few hours this morning to try and find the fish. And as soon as you find them, it's just action. Action, action, action. Look at that lure. They don't care, eh? Just goes to show you can use big lures on the old perch. 3.75 inches. And it's a little flick bait. Typically don't use flick baits, but it seems to be working. Right back in there. Let's see if there's another one. Another one. What is that? It's like 3 or 4 in a row. It feels big too. They're all pretty big fish. Jeez. Another one bites the dust. This is a crazy session. Starting to get a whole bunch of the ones which are around the same size, that 35 to 40 centimetre mark. Oh, that lure's looking a little bit worse for wear. I don't know how many that is in a row, but it's got to be 4 or 5. Right in a row. We'll go back in again. That one little patch over there is where they're real. Another one. Seems to be where they're really sitting. Another one. I reckon that one's bigger. Man, I've been loving this little rod for this type of fishing. This is the 1 to 4 kilo Nomad Seacore inshore spin, and it is such a good rod for finesse, lightweight lure fishing. So much fun on it. Damn, that is a chunky perch. That's another one which is probably mid 40s, I reckon, low mid 40s. Another beast of a fish. Take a look at him. He loved that lure as well. Send him off. Perfect swan dive. Well, we've answered all the questions about using the slightly bigger lure for the perch. 3.75 inches is more than enough. Sufficient. You could probably go bigger. I wonder how large you could go to get consistent eats from these perch. Probably 4.5 inches. Every now and again, after I've caught a dozen or so fish, I'll retie the plastic or lure back on, just because perch especially have really fray type mouths, and after you catch a few of them, they actually start to wear down your leader. It doesn't look like a lot, it'll just get rasped up, but sometimes it's enough just to break through. I'm only using 15 pounds, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Just hit the bottom, water. Oh, that's a big one. Oh, that is a huge one. He's a monster. Well, we've been filtering through a few smaller ones, and then that fella came along. That is like a behemoth. That's got to be really, really close to that magical 50 mark. That's a monster of a perch. Just look at it. Look how tall and fat that thing is, dude. In terms of the old perch fishing, that's about as good as it gets. See you, Gil. Off she cruises. That's sick. All right, everyone. I think I'm gonna turn around and get out of here, but what a fun little session that was. Caught a whole bunch of perch, a couple of really nice ones, using some new lures as well. Used the dozer minnow and the wingman, which was probably the best lure of the day. But if you enjoyed this one, be sure to let me know by leaving a like, comment your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.